Hi guys, General Splatton here. I want to do a continuation of the series on paints by different manufacturers. Today we'll be looking at the GW Citadel washes and paints, and then the Privateer Press Formula P3 paints and washes. So let's get right into it. This caveat right off the bat, looking at the GW stuff, I do not own any of their foundation paints, so you'll have to keep that in mind when you're listening to me do my review. Talking to people and the research I've done says there's still a pretty good product. I just haven't purchased any yet, but I'm going to. What I do know, the foundation paints are designed for a foundation with no one coat coverage. I'm a little skeptical of that because I'm sure with some of the colors they do exactly what they say, but with a color like red, that is the hardest color to get complete coverage with. It takes the longest. I've painted enough miniatures and enough houses to know that red is very, very difficult to get, if not impossible, in one coat. At least in house paint, I know that ain't gonna happen. It usually takes 3 coats, but miniature wise, 2 to 3 coats as well. If you thin them out, even more, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 coats, depending on how thin you have the paint. But I have, and this is just a small selection of the other colors in the line that are not part of the foundation paints. They're not as thick. They don't have the opacity that the foundations do. What are their characteristics? Well, they blend well. They have good blending characteristics as far as different shading of paint. They have good flow characteristics. They're not as dry a paint as the Vallejos, so that they will flow better, and you can manipulate the paint and move it around. Now, they have good blending characteristics. As I've said, you can blend them. They have good mixing characteristics. You can mix them with other colors really easily, other paint lines really easily, whether it be a P3 or something from Walmart. You can blend these and mix these really, really well. The viscosity of these paints is good. They do flow. They do thin well. If you're making washes or glazes with just the paints themselves, you can do that. One big caveat, they do not separate like the Vallejos do. I store my paints like everybody is told to, upside down. But I really question that now. I've had these paints for 5-6 months, and is there really a need? I don't know. I haven't seen that yet, because once you flip it over, yeah, technically you mixed it. But what are you going to do when you pick up the paint? You're going to shake it up. Excuse me. So, and plus, I haven't seen or judged any separation in the paints. I've looked at them before I've shaken them up, and the pigment and the paint medium have stained together. It is not even remotely close to the separation that you would find with the Vallejo game colors. You can shake those paints up. A week later, some of them are already severely separated back out, depending on the color. So I haven't found that with these paints. They're dry pigment paint, which means they were created with dry pigments mixed with the paint medium at the factory and placed in their pots. So there's not the dryness. This is not nearly as dry a paint as the Vallejos are. It has good, like I said, opacity, good flow characteristics, good blending characteristics, good thinning characteristics for thinning the paint. One thing, it's as far as coverage, the smoothness of the lay down when you lay the colors down is not quite as good as the Master Series by Reaper, but it's still pretty good. You won't get the smoothness. You won't get the, like I said, the nice even coat that you would as easily with a Reaper. But you can still get a very, very good coat with a little work and manipulation, but it won't be as quick or quite as easy. Maybe I need to say it that way. You might have to work at getting a nice, smooth, even coat with the Games Workshop versus something like the Reaper. But the paints, I like them. They, a lot of Golden Demons have been won with these paints. Quick question to the community. To enter the Golden Demon contest, yes, you've got to use their products for the models, and they can only be converted. You can't use any other parts off another model line. I understand that. But what about the painting part of it? Can you only use GW paints, or can you use another acrylic paint series or set by another manufacturer for that? Let me know about that. I'm curious. I thought about that the other day when I was thinking about what I was going to say for this review. So, is that a question they ask when you enter? I've never entered and probably never will, so I don't know too much about it. But let me know about that if any of you know that question out there. Just something I was curious about. Now, on to the washes. I have all 8 washes that came in the set. Really, really love the washes. Can't say enough good things about them, but I got something really severe to say about them in a second. Now, what I use mostly is probably like all of you: Badab Black, Devlin Mud, Griffon Sepia. And then the others I use as need to, depending on the project. These are excellent washes. If you're a basic painter still learning to paint, pick these up. They'll make you a better paint right out of the pot because of what they're designed to do. And what are they designed to do? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you, YouTube. They're designed to go, you lay it on thickly, and they're designed to go into the cracks and crevices and creases of the model. They do this very, very well. Instant shading, instant shadowing right out of the pot. As you guys that have used them, I mean, they're very good at that. Why? Duh, they're designed to do that. So, it gives you just a little idea. But they also make excellent glazes. Now, a little tip that you didn't ask for that you're going to get. What's the difference between a glaze and a wash? A wash is designed to go on heavily and move around on the model. It means it's designed to flow into the cracks and creases and crevices to provide shading, build up into areas to provide shadows on the model. Glaze, nope, not designed to do that. A glaze is designed to be laid down in one spot and stay in that spot. A glaze is designed for unifying a model, really. If you've done a lot of blending, going from a shadow to a highlight, and all the tones in between, well, you're going to have a little roughness, and just where things is not quite as smooth or as blended as they could be. A glaze is designed to help mask over that, because if you thin this out to, say, 75% water to 25% wash color, then you lay that down, not heavily, you lay it down lightly. It's going to unify those blended areas and shaded and highlight areas into kind of a more gentle transition. So that's what the glaze is designed to do. Help provide with transitions to unify areas of a model, say a shoulder pad or a arm or section of skin color or shin, whatever. You've got it all blended and shadowed and highlight like you want it. You put a glaze, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 coats of glaze on there to come back and kind of unify and tie all that together. That's what a glaze does, and that's what it's designed to do. And so that's the difference. Now, as far as the pots, they're going to hold on to flip top lid pots, I guess, until the day they die over at GW. But they do work well. You flip them up. They're not as airtight as they used to be, but they're still pretty good. You pick out the paint you want or use it right from the pot if you're that style painter, and does a good job. But these wash pots, oh, they are atrocious. I hate these things. I don't know the knucklehead McSpazatron that came up with this idea, but it just ain't gonna work. They don't seal very well to begin with. Paint gets everywhere. And when you shake it up to get paint on this lip right here, and then you pull it back, then the paint flows, and you gotta wait till it snaps for this to be able to sit level. Paint's gonna flow down in here. It's a horrible design for a wash pot. I mean, it's terrible. I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with that. I don't like that. That's the biggest drawback I see with these paints and washes, is that the wash pot design is terrible. Absolutely terrible. The only thing I can think of, folks, is they're saving money by going this route, and it's economically and financially worthwhile for them to do that. Well, that's it for the GW. I really like them. They're a quality product. They fit my style. Once again, you got to remember: is it going to fit me? Is it going to fit you? These paints are designed to be moved around, that you can use them in ways that are going to help you. If you're a lay down painter, this might not be the ones to go with. But I really like these paints, and I give them, say, a B, B minus. These paints are good paints, and I recommend them for that. Well, now on to part 2. This is General Splatton. I'm about to talk again.